Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers and their coaches. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I can see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can be incredibly lonely. You can feel more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. Clients who are more successful, more intelligent, and wealthier than you need your support more than they know and more than you can imagine. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, and the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything. I'm about to join a conversation with two very powerful women who've done extraordinary things in their lives. And both of them tell a story around power and where there's this gap between where they feel they have power and the possibility of their power. And in literally just a few minutes, with a couple of questions to each of them, they get back into the sense of empowerment that I can see the moment I start the conversation with them. I love these moments of insight when, with a few questions, with a pause, someone gets back into their power. All I'm ever doing when I coach is to help powerful people remember how powerful they are. And that's exactly what happens today. Hi, Chris. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Well, we spoke for 2 minutes before I hit record, and it was really just to say hi. I said, I don't want to know in advance what you want to ask me because I like this to be as real as it can be. And so, Chris, why are you here? You didn't have to say yes to being here. There's a reason you're here. What would you like to create?
Yeah, well, I have had this vision for a number of years to create a world where boys and girls know what they're good at doing so that they can empower themselves and live a life that they'll cherish, years from now. And I've done not a lot about it, and I'm ready to sort of figure out what I should do, but I don't know where to start.
Nice. That really touches me. The United Nations a few years ago created these 17 sustainable development goals. These goals that as a planet we should aim for by 2030. And there are 17 different ones, everything from climate change to education, which is a passion of mine. I was a teacher for 15 years, eventually a vice principal. And so that really touches me. Anything to do with having young people feel empowered, I'm in. So I look forward to diving into this in a minute, and we'll see where we go. How about you, Michelle? What would make this a special call for you today?
Would make it a special call today if I could let go of something that keeps coming back up in my life all the time. No matter how much I develop myself, evolve, whichever words you want to use, it sneaks back up on me every single time. So I would love to let go of that.
You're going to tell us what it is?
Yeah, it's anger, actually.
Mm-hmm. Say more.
Anger, yeah. I've had quite a difficult background growing up and early adulthood. Currently going through, 6 years of a separation, which is now lawyers are involved and things like that. So it seems to be never ending. Much as I develop and I'm creating my life and I'm doing my training and I'm creating my business, this anger sneaks up on me every once in a while.
Sure. Tell me, I'm curious, why is it a problem? Because I can see a place where healthy anger can be valuable. It's a way to get rid of some of those emotions that are holding on to us too tight. It can be a moment we need to channel that anger to speak to someone in power. Why is it unhealthy for you? Why is it a problem?
I think it's unhealthy because of the amount of anger that actually can just come across me out of nowhere, or it seems like it's out of nowhere anyway. And I would say, I mean, it happens a lot less often now, but I still feel that it's too often. I think that's what's making it feel unhealthy.
Got it. How do you do anger? Teach us. How do you do it?
I explode. How I do anger, actually, no, that's not quite correct. I suppress it as much as possible, and then it explodes.
Great. So now you're going a little bit deeper into it. Okay. So if Chris and I were going to model anger, you're going to be our teacher. So we'd suppress some anger until it exploded. But take us back. What would we do? What would happen that would have us feel anger in the first place that we'd then suppress, that would then explode? Take us right back.
Triggered by things that I perceive other people are doing, in particular my ex-partner, my ex-husband. And again, I don't want to put this where it's blame, because I don't, that's not how I live my life, but he seems to love to press my buttons as much as he possibly can. And I obviously allow him to do it every now and then. I take ownership of that, right?
Why do you do that? Why do you allow him to let those buttons be pressed?
We have a child together. We have a daughter together. And a lot of the tension and the problems that are still going on, even after 6 years of being separated, centers around her. There's a lot of blame from his side towards me about the difficulties that he has in his relationship with her. And it seems he feels it's my responsibility to bridge their bond.
Let's come out of this. I want to come up a level of abstraction, because this will be a podcast that will go out and people will listen to. Yeah. So I don't want it to get into the personal right now. You don't know what his intentions are. You can make up what they are, and you may be spot on. But let's come out of where he is. I'm talking to you. I'm more interested in what's going on for you. Now, I'm not a therapist. You can go and do deep therapeutic work around anger. I've got a friend who's done that work for a long time with experts on anger, and there are people who you can go to for that. Sometimes people say to me, Rich, what's the boundary between coaching and therapy? Well, I think we're probably at it right now. Yeah. There are some conversations we can have on this side, and some that are worthwhile having with someone who's an expert in therapeutic intervention, where you may want to go. But in this moment, let's stay on this side of the line. When was the first time you remember feeling anger as a child?
I would say as early as 7 years of age.
And what was it most that angered you back then?
The way I perceive my father treated me towards different than my sister and my brother.
Got it. And what did you perceive that? What was happening then? You felt powerless. What happened?
Definitely powerless. Yeah.
Yeah. So a strong man comes in. There's no one stronger than your dad when you're a little kid. Strong man comes into your world and says, this has to happen. This is the way it is. Not just feeling powerless, but also this sense of equity. This isn't fair.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly didn't feel fair.
Yeah. Would I be right that all these years later, what angers you the most is when something happens, someone's talking to you about something where you feel powerless and there's a sense of inequity? It's not fair.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It goes back a long way, you see. These are patterns that are informed as a child. How did anger help you back then when you were young?
Oh, anger was a big part of my life. I grew up in Glasgow.
So I want to be very specific with this question. How was it of a benefit to you? Because little Michelle back then did the best she could to stay safe. And
Yeah.
being angry back then was a way to stay safe. How did anger keep you safe back then?
Anger kept me safe by seeming like I was an aggressive person. So the more aggressive I could seem in my environment, the more likely I was to not have the kind of problems that I would normally have.
Makes sense. And for a 7-year-old to catch that, that's actually really smart. It was probably very intuitive. It wasn't thought out intellectually, but very smart. And little Michelle kept you safe, because here you are in 2021, a successful woman who's made an impact in the world, who's continuing to make a difference. What she did back then, little Michelle, was keep you safe. And the trouble is, any habit we pick up as a youngster that can have all sorts of benefits to us in later life, at some point we pay a price for. And that's what you're feeling right now, is the cost of that. Because you don't want to feel that feeling any longer.
No, haven't wanted to feel it for a long time, in all honesty.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a reframe to play with for a moment and see where this one lands. What if anger was actually a compass for you? It was like a little bell warning. Chris, do you see the movement of Michelle in that moment? Like, that was an insight moment. If you're listening, you can't hear this, but I don't know what happened. I know Michelle's had her insight already.
I like that. A compass, yeah. A warning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could serve me.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you off the hot seat right now, because when someone's in a place of insight, you don't have to dig deep as a coach and turn it into a 17-step plan. They've got their insight and they're there. And I'll still come back to what I said earlier, Michelle. You know, sometimes there's a place for deep therapeutic work you may want to consider.
Yeah.
But where you are on this side, I'll pause for this moment.
That feels good. Thank you.
Yeah, it does. Chris, have you ever heard of the mama bear effect?
Oh, the mama bear effect. No, I don't think so.
So the mama bear effect, I watched this happen for the first time with my wife when we had little kids, when I saw what looked like for the first time one of our kids was in danger. I forget what it was, someone walking to them or a car coming near to us. And I watched Monique, this mama bear came out like she would have killed in that moment to protect our kids. Whatever was necessary, she would have done in that moment. Now, for whatever reason, lots of reasons for this, women often, particularly in the corporate world, are not given promotions, are not paid as much money, are not given the opportunities, not just in corporate and all sorts of other places. What has been discovered, one of the ways to help women ask for what they want is to have them tap into the mama bear effect. So what Michelle was just talking about, it's a healthy version of anger. This is when you can channel it in a really healthy way. Like, I am here for a cause. Might not be able to do it for myself. To ask for more money for me can sometimes be hard for anyone. But if I'm here for a cause, I will do what it takes. And you said you have a cause to help your little boys and girls feel empowered. And I'm checking in how much you've tapped into this mama bear effect to get you past all the stories about who am I to do this? How can I make this happen?
Yeah, I think there's some of that there. I come from a very empowering family. And so I had the opportunity to do that. And so I think I'm just very passionate about trying to help others. And as a coach, that's what I do. But then there's children, and children are really the future. And how do we start to help empower them? And it just seems so big. Like, I don't know where to start. I'm not a school teacher, I'm just like, what do I do? How do I lean into this passion that I have for this subject? So
what I'm hearing is that actually as a youngster, you felt very empowered, and you see little kids who are not, and you want to help.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked all over the world, and I think that's really opened my eyes to how much disparity there is. Yeah. And, education, is really the key to kind of changing that.
Well, let me ask you, because it doesn't have to be complex, right? You could start a foundation. You could start to build a nonprofit, but you could also say, from now on, X% of everything I make is going to go to someone who's already created a nonprofit or a foundation that helps young kids. And it doesn't have to be complex. You could say that 1 in 7 of my clients will be pro bono, and it will be a leader who does something to empower young children.
I love that because it's very tangible. It's meaningful, and doing business for good and giving back whatever a portion of what I make is great. And then I love that idea of that pro bono work. And then it gets me closer or more engaged and feeling like I'm doing something with that passion. That hits me in a good place. And I don't know why I couldn't think of it, but I'm like, I was making it probably more complex than I needed to.
Well, I think so. And we do that as a human thing. I'm always interested in the simplicity on the other side of complexity. And that's what we complexify things, right? It's like, well, how am I going to build this foundation? No, actually, you could be on the board of directors of a number of nonprofits and make a massive impact. You could coach the leaders of organizations that are empowering young kids today. And within a few months, you could have an enormous impact. It's simple, not easy. You got to do some work, but you're a powerful woman. You know what to do.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that gives me something to go do and tangible that I can truly say I am doing it. And that changes everything, because then it just makes me feel much more energized and, kind of full of that worthy purpose beyond, obviously helping those that I am engaged with assisting.
I love it. So Michelle, sometimes the sound of insight is just a sense of confidence. And I can hear that in Chris's voice. She doesn't yet know what step it will be, but the steps seem a lot simpler in front of her. And I think we're there with both of you. Michelle, let me check in. What's the biggest insight you've had from the conversation today?
I would say that there's two. When you said about a healthy amount of anger, I think that is true to protect you. And the biggest thing for me was the alarm bell, using, that anger as the alarm bell.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It makes me realize, the reason I could see that so clearly is that I don't know. I'm not very good at tapping into anger. I hold it back mostly. And there's a place in between where you are and where I am where we could meet in the middle, and it would give us each an access to healthy anger when it can be used like in the mama bear effect to channel to make a real difference. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, I like that.
How about you, Chris? What's one takeaway from anything today?
I just love the concept of the mama bear, but not as the mama bear to lasso your passion and to really lean in. And it's easier than you think, and it doesn't have to be complex.
So thank you, both of you. This was fun, and sometimes we get there faster than you imagine.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It was really good. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye for both of you. For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching. It was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.